I'm you, but I'm just a few years further down the road. I came back because I remember this July, not because anything extraordinary happened. And honestly, if you had asked me what was changing then, I don't think I could have explained it. But life still looked mostly the same house, the same routines, the same people, the same coffee in the same mug, the same grocery store, the same phone that's in your hand right now. From the outside, almost nothing was different. But I remember what it felt like on the inside. Something had quietly started to loosen up. I know why you haven't said anything to anyone about it yet, because there isn't really anything to say. Nothing has happened yet, nothing that you could point to. And I know why certain conversations have started feeling heavier than they used to. I know why you caught yourself not laughing at that joke that used to be funny. I know why you've walked out of rooms more tired than when you walked in. I used to think something was wrong with me too. I was too sensitive, too emotional, too serious, for whatever reason. That wasn't it. I was outgrowing a version of myself that had kept me alive for a really long time. That's all it ever is. And here's the part nobody ever tells you, and I wish someone had told me. Outgrowing yourself doesn't feel like becoming, at least not when it's happening. Everybody talks about who you're turning into, but nobody ever talks about who you're leaving. Because every new version of you quietly asks the old one to step aside. And the old one doesn't go without having a conversation first. I missed parts of who I used to be that July. Not because she was happier, she wasn't really. I missed her because she was familiar. There's comfort in familiar, even when familiar isn't good for you, and especially when it's not good for you. And can I admit something? I spent half the month asking, what am I supposed to do next? When life wasn't asking me to do anything at all. It was asking me to notice what didn't fit anymore, what I was still forcing, what dreams I was only carrying because I'd carried them for so long and not because they were still my dream. I remember the morning I understood that some dreams expire, not because they fail, but because you become someone who they no longer belong to. That scared me almost more than anything else that year. Also let me breathe for the first time in a while. The funny thing is, it was never the big moments that got to me. It was driving home one evening, sitting at a red light, just watching the windshield wipers go across the window. And I didn't even need them to be on. It was a song that I loved for years coming on the radio and realizing halfway through it that I felt like it wasn't my song anymore. Or it was finishing a cup of coffee on a totally ordinary morning, setting the mug down and thinking out of nowhere, I don't think I want to keep living this way. It wasn't some big speech, it wasn't some big lightning bolt. It was just a sentence that arrived quietly and sat there. And I remember thinking, why does it always start so small? And it does. Becoming usually begins with one quiet sentence, not 100 loud ones. I felt guilty for a while too. I should probably tell you that part. People around me hadn't changed, but my relationship to them had. And that's strange, lonely thing to sit with when no one really did anything wrong. Some conversations started feeling smaller than they used to. Some friends started feeling like a sweater that I'd outgrown 2 sizes ago. I had to learn, slower than I'd like to admit, that not everything changes because it's bad for you. Sometimes a season just ends. And that's allowed to be true without anyone being the villain in it. I still don't fully understand why growth feels so lonely. I just know that it does sometimes. There's a stretch where the old version of you doesn't feel true anymore and the new one hasn't fully shown up yet. You're standing in the hallway between two different versions of yourself. That's where I met myself that July. Not at some finish line, not in the hallway, but between chapters. And it's uncomfortable there. It's also one of the most honest places you'll ever stand. And I wish someone had told me that I didn't have to rush it. Trees don't apologize for taking a whole season to change color. And I don't know why I expected to do it faster than a tree would. I tried to hurry my healing, hurrying my confidence, hurrying my peace. Like becoming was a project that I could just hurry up and wrap up in a weekend. And it doesn't work like that. Some parts of you unfold slowly on purpose because they're built to stay once they arrive. And here's the realization I actually came back to give you. I used to think becoming meant adding things. Like I needed more confidence, I needed more wisdom, I needed more proof that I'd figured it all out. And looking back, July was the month I started subtracting instead. Less pretending, less people pleasing, less over explaining myself to people who'd already made up their minds about me, less apologizing. The version of me that showed up afterward wasn't built by collecting anything new. She showed up because I finally put down what was never mine to carry in the first place. There's one evening from that month that I still think about. The sun was starting to go down. I was sitting outside, not really thinking about anything in particular, not trying to plan my next 5 years, just watching the light change color over the fence line. And maybe for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to fix myself before tomorrow comes. I just sat there and existed for a while. It sounds like nothing, but it wasn't nothing. It was one of the healthiest moments I'd had in years, and I almost missed it because it didn't really look like progress. If July teaches you anything, let it be this. You don't become yourself by trying harder to be someone else. You become yourself every time you stop abandoning who you've already been underneath everything. And it took me years to understand that. I don't think it'll take you that long because maybe this conversation will shave off a little time of this journey. And I hope it does. That's the only reason I came back tonight. There will probably be days this month where things suddenly feel different and you can't say why, where a familiar place feels slightly off, where a conversation leaves you quieter than usual, where something in you keeps whispering, not this anymore, about something you used to be completely sure of. Don't panic when that happens. You aren't losing yourself, you're recognizing yourself. And I promise those two things only look alike from the outside. I know it's unsettling not to know exactly what's coming next. I remember wishing someone would just tell me. Life just kept quietly asking me to be a little more honest. One decision, one conversation, one boundary, and one afternoon at a time. None of it felt dramatic while it was happening. But looking back, those small moments were the whole thing. They were everything. I wish I could sit beside you for 5 minutes and just tell you that nothing about this season means you're behind. Some flowers bloom in spring, some wait till summer, but neither one of them is late. You're not becoming on anyone else's timeline. You're becoming on your own timeline. In years from now, you'll remember this July, not because it was loud with fireworks, but and not because everything changed overnight, but because it was the month that you quietly stopped asking, "Who am I supposed to become?" and started asking, "What if I've been allowed to be exactly who I am this entire time? What if I'm allowed to just be me?" And I remember that question changing everything for me. But I'll let you keep on living your story, and I'll see you again soon when I have another message for you. Until then, stay magnetic, friends.